Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. This is really steering our consciousness into miraculous health and beingness. And my guests today are here to present DECU Body 2, which is an amazing new technique. Let's welcome Jules Arnes and Denise Kalansky. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank
We're
you.
so happy to be here. Well, gosh, should
And-
we jump in? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, for those who may not be familiar, please, as we jump in here, yes, tell us what DECU is for those who don't know.
Gosh, I feel like it's evolving so quickly that we almost could change the name, but it starts with the D, which is dermal expression cellular upgrade. And when we first started doing this work, we were really focusing on the skin and using it as an anti-aging technique. But what we found is as we were reprogramming cellular intelligence, that it was so much more than that. And it really went into the body, and that we started changing the cellular intelligence of the entire body. And so some of you have heard of our DQ body for weight loss. And so this next class, the DQ Body 2, is really, we're shifting from not just weight loss, but anything that has to do with the body being out of balance. Do you have anything to add to that, Denise?
Well, it's been a tremendous journey for me. In fact, Lauren, it was your show that I learned about Jules, and that was like in October of last year. And the DQ process has just like completely transformed my life. And, she was looking for teachers, and I love to teach and share other alternative methods of healing for other people, because I've had a lot of life challenging illnesses and chronic conditions that through prayer and thoughtful intention, I've been able to heal my body. And DQ has just been a natural process to evolve my understanding of the cellular programming of my body and how to unravel all the programs and beliefs that we've been taught to believe about aging and what we should look like and be like at a certain age. And so with this DECU Body 2 class, I asked Jules if we could change it a little bit to include more than just the weight loss. It needs to be, so many people suffer from chronic conditions, arthritis and diabetes. And what about life? Terminal cancers and those sorts of conditions. And I mean, I've gotten over cancer. I've gotten over fibromyalgia. I've had some pretty serious conditions in my life, and I've been able to heal them through alternative modalities. And I wish I would have had this 20 years ago, but I mean, here it is now. We're ready for this. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Well, I just want to commend both of you ladies for bringing this to the world in this way. It is a bridge, and you are at the leading edge. You are at the forefront of this technology. Cellular programming, dermal expression, cellular upgrades. All right, so we're going to give you guys the space to tell us more about all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Gosh, so where do we start? We were kind of talking before we got on, Denise and I, and the first thing that I feel like, Lauren is so right. This is super cutting edge. And we are on the edge of that bridge between really taking our cells and reprogramming them to the highest human potential. And what we have found through just doing this and having people go through these programs, and it's only, gosh, only maybe 2 years old, maybe not even that old, that we've been actually teaching. And what we're finding is that more people that are agreeing to this, that reprogramming at a cellular level speeds up the process so much, because our minds want to hold on to what it knows, and it wants to keep going back to, well, we tried this before, let's try this again. Or another way of saying that is to do things that have already been created in form. And when we take something of form and then we try to shift form, it's really hard to do. So, what we do is we actually go into the cell, we identify a program or a belief system, something that is holding a low vibrational imprint, because those imprints are what turn on those epigenetic codes of disease, of being overweight, what aging, whatever it is that you want to put there. And that's what I love about that we're doing this DQ body. And I just celebrate Denise in this place of coming forward and just saying, let's do it all, because this is for everyone. And it's for everyone that's ready to take the next step from, I want to find something outside of myself in order to heal, to I'm ready to step into my highest potential and not only become my own healer, but actually change what it is to be human. And that's
Yeah.
power.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I realized whenever, gosh, back in the early or late 90s, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I was sick for a whole year before they even diagnosed me. And then they just kept giving me pain medication, which made me sleepy, I was already tired because of the fibromyalgia. And so after a year of that, I'm like, okay, I have got to find a way to heal myself. And fortunately, that was when I was introduced to my first healing modality. And within 30 days, the pain was gone. And I was sleeping better than I had in 2 years. And so I called my doctor and I'm like, I'm doing this training course and all my pain's gone and feeling so much better. And I wanted to get off the medication. So she weaned me off, and I have not had to go back on medication for that. I have not had any reoccurrence of fibromyalgia. So every condition I've had throughout my life, I've always applied self-healing. We're not going to get it outside of ourselves. I learned that in my late 30s, that if I want to heal myself, I've got to take charge.
And that is the new earth way. It's I think in the old paradigm, it was really natural to even just go to healers. And I'm not saying don't go to healers. I think that we all want to have that support of a reflection of what it is to heal. But after we leave that reflection, or we leave the session, let's say, it's our responsibility to actually step in and do the work that was just reflected to us. And I think that that's the shift that's starting to happen. Is so many times in the old paradigm, we would be in that reflection and it felt amazing and we felt really good, and we probably felt good for 3 to 7 to a month later. But then, because we weren't aware of what reflection we were actually holding and doing the work to not only hold that, but to accelerate that, most often we would hear, and I'm sure a lot of you that are listening, I've been working on this for such a long time and it's still not healed. And whether that's an emotional pattern, it's a physical pattern, whatever it is, and there's a reason for that. And that's what we're going to go into in this course a little bit more. But the biggest shift that is that we're in the paradigm where it's time to step into being our own healers. And in DQ body, or DQ in general, like learning to reprogram at a cellular level is one of the coolest ways to do it, because our bodies hold an intelligence so beyond what we can consciously understand, and it will just start to take over. And in the more advanced level of this work is like our bodies actually become the mind. Like I woke up this morning and I always like kind of ask, like, what is my identity going to be today? And I immediately got the download of my body is the divine mind. And I mean, just saying it now kind of gives me chills. And I just sat and I let it totally download into my body. And, and it's at that point, I let my body be the mind. And it doesn't mean that I don't have other thoughts right now. I wouldn't say they're totally connected, but my body knows better. And I listen to that first, and I'll let I call it the mini me, will kind of chatter in the background sometimes, but I really do let the cellular intelligence of my body take over.
Yeah. And I just try and be more in appreciation of this magnificence of my body. So many people go throughout their day and gosh, our bodies are just so miraculous. We feed them all this junk and then they still get us up out of the bed. They get us to work. And just taking the time to just really appreciate this marvelous expression of our bodies and everything it does for us and how it takes care of us and gets us through our day. Just so much gratitude and appreciation.
What was coming to me as you were saying that is, there's a doctor, Dr. Sinclair is his name. I think he's at Harvard University, and he's been doing a lot of studies on aging. And what he's found is that there's no biological reason that we age. And when I think about you, like, what these things that we put in our bodies, and it does all this great stuff for us, and it still keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps supporting us. And but the other part of that is that's creating an environment of our bodies, but also connecting our thoughts to that, because is it really what we're putting into our bodies, or is it our belief system about what we're putting into our bodies? And that's that's when we can actually take this work and start to create like these higher levels of realities, because science is also proving that what we focus on and the belief that we put behind that focus creates a reality. And this is really high level work, is when we can start to shift realities on what it is that we're actually putting into our bodies and what frequency it holds, just by what we actually believe it's holding. And so you can take that and then move it into so many other parts of our lives. But kind of going back to Dr. Sinclair, it's that part about that aging is an epigenetic code that gets turned on. Well, that's the same with cancer, diabetes, aging, whatever it is. And that what we're doing with DECU Body 2 and the DECU process is that we're allowing the cell to exist in an environment by choosing an identity for the cell to hold, even if our mind doesn't agree with it. And eventually, as our body resonates in this new identity, then our mind eventually will catch up to it. And then just what happened? We just shifted the reality of not only what our body is holding, but what we're reflecting into the world. And that's when magic starts to happen. And you can start to really step into this work, because the truth is, I love it. There was somebody in one of our classes and she said, I'm the CEO of my body. And I was like, yes, you are. You are that powerful.
Mm-hmm. And so many of the students, including myself and the other teachers, are using that I am statement. I am the CEO of my body. I tell it what to do. And it happily complies because it wants us to be happy.
Mm-hmm. And that is, our cells are waiting for us to tell them what to do. And so often we do this unconsciously. We're downloading these beliefs that aren't serving us. And as all we're doing is going in and looking at those beliefs that were put there unconsciously. We're taking a look at them, we're pulling them out, and then we're putting in a new identity. And cells need to have an identity in order to exist. And that's in that DECU level 1 classes. So that's what we do, is we shift the identity of the cell to something at a higher vibration. And we call it ascending through the I am. And, at the higher level, we actually teach the cell to move beyond identity altogether. And we won't necessarily talk about that right now, but this is where we're going. And you can only imagine what it's like to exist as identity, because on a lot of levels, naming something is a form of separation. And it only makes sense that as we continue to journey through this, that we will move into a state of consciousness where we no longer need to name. And that's when we can actually identify through frequency, because we're not naming anything, we're just in the experience of it. And your body actually starts to feel what that feels like as you go through these reprogramming, because it understands that, yes, I exist as this, but now I can exist as this. And it's creating this bridge of actually being able to exist as frequency. And that's when you can start to heal at a very, very quick I mean, I do it all the time. It's one of my favorite things to do. And, and we'll do some fun things in class, like a facelift. You know what? Maybe we should do that. Should we do the facelift? Lauren's like, yes. This is one of I do this every morning, you guys. And it's so funny because when I do sessions, I'll have someone come on and I'll be like, okay, now hold your face. And I'll be like, okay, I actually can't even move my face anymore because I already did it this morning. And if I do it anymore, I'm going to look really funny. So, okay, well, let's do it. This will be fun. So if you have a mirror close by, I recommend looking in a mirror, and Lauren and Denise can just look at the camera here. So what we're going to do is we're going to rub our fingers together. And with our intention, we're activating the hydrogen bonds. And what we're working with is the water of the body, but there's a molecule that is similar to water, and it's called H3O2. And these molecules have both positive and negative charges. And you can use these to manipulate form. And now you're going to just very gently start to rub your fingers. And as you do, you're going to connect those electric charges of your fingertips. And with your intention, you're going to start to connect them to the electric charges of the H3O2 of the skin. And then we're going to take it a step further, and those positive and the negative charges are connecting to the hydrogen bonds of the DNA. And every single time you go like this, you're just activating. And then with your intention, you're connecting to the future pattern of youth and vitality. And then when you go to the last time, go ahead and hold right at the hairline. And then you're going to shut your eyes, and you're just going to let your intention continue to skip to the future pattern. And just like, you'll just feel kind of like electric charges that are just kind of moving around and doing the work, and just holding it for just a few seconds. And then before you look at yourself in the mirror, choose to believe that this is possible, because so many times we'll look in the mirror and interrupt the pattern by moving back into a belief system that it's not possible. So just choosing in this moment that you are so powerful that you can literally shift cellular intelligence with these hydrogen bonds. And then go ahead and release. And I do this every morning, and now my skin knows exactly what to do. I mean, it takes me seconds, and I tell you guys, it works. It's so much fun to do. But I always recommend really looking in the mirror, because I mean, you'll have like one eye up, one eye down. Like, so really pay attention to where you want your skin to stay, and have fun with it. 3 minutes every day. Get a facelift. That was fun.
Yeah, I've been working on my eyes because I've got this sort of baggy eyes. It's a family trait. And so I've been giving myself an eye lift every morning. And it's so amazing to see how much more of an arch I have. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's really fun. And, so what I had a point to kind of going into that is when we start to kind of connect past those belief systems that we can't actually shift form, and that we start to give ourselves higher levels of an identity, and that they learn, oh, wow, we can actually become something different, is when we can kind of take that and be like, okay, not only can you become something different, but you can actually pull it into the space of kind of the possibility, those particles of possibility, and then recreate them into the particles of probability in a completely different frequency. And that's what we're doing when we do the, like what we just did, and when we're doing DQ, is we're really advancing to the highest human potential. And what I love about that is that it never stops. And that's what I love about the way we teach too. It's like, it's like, well, do we change the name? And because it's just advancing so much that every class is different, because we learn so much, and then our frequency raises, and then our reality changes, the truth of what we were teaching changes, and that keeps going and keeps going. It never stays the same. And that's human evolution, right? Do you have anything you want to add to that, Denise? I feel like I've been talking too much.
Well, one of the things that I don't want to say, but that we have the hardest time with our newer students is getting out of their story. They want to give us the whole history about why they're this or that. And that just keeps us stuck in recreating, because every time you tell your story, you're recreating and you're telling the cells of your body to be that expression. And people that wake up in chronic pain, it's the same thing. It's like before they even open up their eyes, they're thinking, oh God, what's my body going to feel like? Or they consciously are looking for the pain in their body. And even if the pain was gone, they would be looking for it. So the body's going to like, oh, you want pain? Oh, okay, here it is. Here's that back pain. It's like, oh, it's going to be another one of those bad days. And so moving them out of the story and getting them to focus on what it is you do want, breaking those agreements that we have with the aging, and because I'm this way, I should expect to have more aches and pains. I totally am breaking that agreement with my older siblings. We were at lunch the other day and they were like, oh, this ache and pain. And I'm like, no, I am not going there. I absolutely refuse. I don't buy into that. And they're like, yeah, you just wait and see. And I'm like, no, you wait and see when I'm running circles around you and you're older than me. And so breaking those agreements with aging and what it means, and even an illness or a diagnosis. The type of leukemia I had is incurable, and the only cure, if you will, is to take medication for the rest of your life. And when I was diagnosed, I was in crisis mode, so I did go on chemo, but I was determined I was going to heal it. And so we can heal ourselves. We can reverse the disease process, the aging process. I mean, Jules is proving that. And as each student goes through our classes, we're all collectively starting to prove that what we are teaching is real, and that it exists, and that you can be part of it. You can be part of reversing the aging in your body. You can be part of this new earth platform of reclaiming your health and vitality, no matter what your age.
And I love how you call it the New Earth platform, because that's what I love about our community, is that it's not just taking a course. Like, you're becoming a part of a movement. You're becoming part of a level of consciousness, and that level of consciousness is advancing as each person comes in and agrees. It's like that two or more gather. And it's like, I used to have the I am the way, I am the one, I am the first. And what that meant was that I was going to be the first to be able to break through the belief system that we had to age, and that we break through the belief system that we could not shift form in whatever way that is. And I've done it. And done it in some pretty crazy ways, but now I don't have, it's like I believe it, and so I can teach from that place of believing, and now more people are having those experiences. And so it's kind of like that 4-minute mile thing. It's like, once one person does it, we all can do it. And we're going to keep going, though. Let's not stop there. Gosh, there was something that I was thinking as you were speaking. Oh, about the story, because I feel like that's really worth just going into a little bit deeper. And because I think it's the one part about our work that I think so many people struggle with, because it's funny how we have so many people that'll come in and they're almost proud that they know what their story is. They're like, I know why I'm this way. And what we find is it doesn't matter. Like, knowing why does not heal ever. It just doesn't. I've never in my I'm almost at 28 years now. I've been a vibrational therapist, and never one time in those 28 years did somebody heal because they found out why they were the way they were. And the analogy that I love to use, it's like buying a house that's a fixer upper. And you go in and you look around and you're like, okay, this needs to be fixed. This needs to be fixed. This needs to be upgraded. But we don't sit there and analyze it. And, well, why did they choose that color? Why is there a hole in the wall? We don't have to know why in order to fix it. You just fix it. You look at what needs to be fixed and then you change it. And that's how our bodies are literally programmed to exist. We are a very high level energetic system that is very similar to a computer, that we can go in and we can see the virus, or we can see what needs to be reprogrammed. We take out what's wrong and we put in the correct program. And then we become that and we start functioning in that way. And part of what we did with these hydrogen bonds is that we start to electrify those synapse responses, or those electric responses. Like, our body actually holds very similar responses that our brain does, but we're only using 15% of them. And when we start to do this work, we start to electrify those hydrogen bonds within our body that literally have positive and negative charges that will connect and hold what I call divine intelligence, and intelligence beyond what our understanding is. And as those all start to connect, we become something different. And we do not have to have a story to become something different. We just have to choose it. And so many people are like, well, how do I do that? Because I just want to keep going back into my story. And that's where the practice comes in. I've practiced it so many times. I was telling the story the other day that even just going on a hike, when you really start to pay attention, we are naming our experience almost all the time. Even if it's not comparing it to the past, we're naming what it is that we're experiencing. And when I started to recognize that I was doing that, I chose to turn it around and just be in the experience. And what I realized in that moment is, because I chose that enough times, that when I tried to go back into naming the experience, I couldn't do it. It kept flipping it around and kept me in to just being an experience. And that was such a powerful thing for me to recognize, that in that last minute that I chose it one more time, that I no longer was able to do what I reprogrammed out of. I mean, that's powerful.
Mhm. Yeah, and the other thing that we teach our students is how important it is to be in choice. Because we are programmed to just automatically respond or think in a certain way, we have to become conscious and become aware of what we are thinking and what we are telling our bodies, ourselves to do. And then once we become aware of it, then it's like, okay, do I want to keep making that choice and telling my body to be the expression of that? Or what do I want to become? Who am I becoming? How do I want to feel? What do I see myself doing? How do I get through my day? And that's just so powerful.
And that's what you just said is, so many people are like, it can't be that easy, but it is. It literally is, especially now that we're in the new paradigm, is that once we see something that is being shown to us, and that's what I love, is that the divine frequency within us will always show us exactly what we need to see.
Mm.
Always. It's always showing us. It's like whether or not, like you said, we have the awareness to say, oh, this is what's being shown to me. And once we see it, we have that choice of, does this work for me? Is this creating the reality that I want to experience? And it's either yes or no. I mean, it's like really, it's yes or no. And then we do just what you said. Okay, well, if this isn't working for me, what will? And then we just start choosing that and becoming that. And when we start to get sucked back into that story, it's like, oh yeah, but now I'm this. How do I make that? And that's what I say this all the time, is when I, like this morning, I had, my body is the divine mind. So before I even get out of bed, I ask myself, if my body was the divine mind, how will I get out of bed? I mean, I just make it so simple because my body gets so tuned in to, okay, this is what we're going to be. Even on those little simple things that normally you would do unconsciously, I do it super consciously in the new identity that I'm becoming. Okay, now how am I going to walk across the room to turn on the lights? And how am I going to walk into the kitchen? Is my divine mind body going to have this, or is it going to have this? And I let the divine mind body create choices for myself. And it was really powerful because I went out to go hiking, and I chose, okay, I'm going to go on my hike, and my body is the divine mind. And this is giving me chills because it was such a powerful experience that it was almost like my body I wasn't even trying. And this is, I went up 1,500 feet in about a half a mile. That's very steep. And it was like my legs weren't, like my feet were hardly and touching the body, and it was like my body just spread out across the mountain, and it was like I was elevated and just going up and experiencing the wildflowers and everything that was around me. And I was like, this is the most amazing experience. And if I hadn't chosen to have that experience before I started the hike, it would have been something completely different.
I tell my clients all the time, you don't need alcohol or drugs when you do this kind of work. And I had a client that literally floated out of my office the other day. I mean, it was just, she was so joyful, and her vibrational frequency had shifted so much. I swear she was floating and she even felt it. It was so amazing. It's like alcohol and drugs, just, they don't give you that same sense of connection with your divine. It's, you have to experience it to maybe understand what I'm saying. And I'm sure you guys, I know Jules does, but Lauren, you probably have had those experiences where you're so connected to the divine, and it's like every synapse response in your body is like tuned in, tapped in, and turned on, and you're just hyper aware of everything. And there's just such a sense of joy and connection and oneness with everything. You literally feel part of all that is. And drugs and alcohol don't do that. They don't. And you don't have a hangover.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
It is so beautiful because it's a vibration, and we must hold the vibration. And we can see how these belief systems and choices and things, and thinking are really held in the body. And so reprogramming the cell to be the expression of choice, that is empowerment right there. And so holding the vibration, divine mind body creates the choices for us from that vibration. And so beautiful. Just listening to you both talk there about this experience makes us all look back at episodes where we have felt that. And we can say, it's time to live like this 100% of the time. So you've mentioned the hydrogen bonds. And is there anything more that you want to say about that? Because what I find fascinating is that water, which is hydrogen, is part of water, H2O. Water is multidimensional, and we know so much about water from Emoto's work, but I'd like to let you speak more on that.
this is, definitely taking this work a little bit more advanced, but what I love about the water of our bodies is just what you said. It's like it's multi-dimensional, but it's also something that shifts form very quickly. We don't have to do a lot to shift this form, but it also can take on an intelligence and it can hold different frequency patterns. There's another course that I teach. It's called Evolution, and it was really funny. I was getting ready to start the retreat, and I had kind of this download of I was tuning into the water of my body because a big part I work with changing. Uh, you know, let's just take a moment to say what is it that we're actually doing here, and at the highest level of this work we are changing molecular structure and we're changing form to spirit, back to form, or staying in spirit. And we have the choice to exist in different spaces because we can program our body to not exist in the identity of structure or the molecular structure that it's in, that we're actually becoming something beyond that. Well, the water of our bodies is the place where we can actually enter to show our body that we can exist as something besides, you could say, cellular intelligence or cellular structure, the molecular part of our bodies. And that hydrogen bond, I was kind of hanging out with the hydrogen within HTO. And I was told, gosh, maybe this is like 8 to 10 years ago, that we would no longer need water and we would no longer need to breathe. And so I kind of sat with that, and now it makes sense to me, but at the time and not so much. But when I was sitting with that, when I was identifying the hydrogen of water, what happened was that the hydrogen actually started to split, and it was creating a frequency between the two. I can't really say for sure if they were both hydrogen atoms, but they were almost like a battery. It was like a negative and a positive charge. And I was like, what am I seeing? And I had a download, and it said that there's something else in the body that's similar to water, but it's not water. So I had to look it up. And what I did find is that there is something that water, it's a different kind of water, and it's called H3O2. And it literally is a negative and a positive charge within the bonds of hydrogen. So what's the question, and like, where is this going? I think we're still in discovery of that. For me, I'm using it as a place to create electric charges, to create a system for the body to actually hold an intelligence beyond molecular structure, because that's what we're going to become. Where that all is going to go, I can't really say for sure. I'm definitely playing with it. And I've had a couple people say that when they look at me, that's what they see is like electric charges and those kind of the seer's eye. And so I can tell that something's starting to shift and happen. And I'm not really answering your question because I don't know how to answer it.
When we were doing the facelift with you and you were mentioning the electrical charges, I'm sure others could feel something going on there. And isn't it amazing when we look at thoughts and emotions? Thoughts are electric and emotions are magnetic. And this goes back to a question for Denise in the healing of these giant diagnoses and things that could put people really on their knees or down and out. When you healed from that, I know we don't need to go into the why you got that, as Jules and you were both mentioning, but when you were healed from that, did you find that it was emotions or thoughts, or did you heal it with the thoughts?
Hmm. It was definitely, in my case, it was definitely, there was a lot of like trapped and suppressed emotion. Um, and Jules and I were talking about the difference between like an emotion and a feeling. And the emotion is changes the chemistry in the body. And so I had been living under tremendous stress with my job before I had retired. And so I had to deal with all of that and change all of that programming out of my body. And it's so interesting how I look back and I can't even remember all the different things that I cleared, but there was definitely a lot of programming, but and it's not so much just the thoughts and the emotions and all of that, but how that energy, those electrical responses and stuff changed the molecular structure of my organs and glands. And with leukemia, the Philadelphia chromosome had been activated. And so I had to like turn that back off.
What is the Philadelphia chromosome?
It's what they say turns on the chronic myeloid leukemia. And so that type of leukemia is in the bone marrow and it produces too much white blood cells, but they don't mature. So at some point it challenges the immune system because all you have is these like little immature white blood cells that don't know how to fight, invaders in the body. So that's why people with, with severe leukemia die of the common cold or the flu, because there's no immune system. There are no mature adults in the house that knows how to kill off the virus or whatever is attacking the body. And so I have no idea. Medicine doesn't have any idea what turns on that chromosome. Of course, we're learning through science and all these studies how, it's our environment that activates these cells, these chromosomes, and the expression of our body. And as you were talking, Jules, about the Emoto work, and I'm sure probably a lot of the people that listen to your calls, Loren, know what we were talking about with the Emoto and those beautiful crystal photographs, and what gratitude looked like and what love looks like. It's just a beautiful, beautiful crystal. And then you look at a really negative emotion like I hate you, and it's like a gun to your head. And so if our bodies are all this water and we're thinking all of these negative emotions, or we're feeling depressed or lonely or whatever is holding us down, imagine what those beautiful water molecules in our bodies are looking like if we could put them under the microscope and see them. And so it just helps to elevate us to, okay, do I want to be this beautiful crystal? Or do I want to be sort of a misshapen, distorted, dull crystal? And I think that's what we're doing with all of this reprogramming. We're just restoring that beautiful, pristine crystal form that is our body. And that's why we're reversing aging and why we're able to heal our bodies and do all these miraculous things at this time.
Being the expression of choice.
Yes.
That's it in a nutshell. And I am the CEO of my body, and my body is the divine mind. Wow. Some beautiful phrases for each of us to work with. Tell us about your course coming up.
Beautiful. Like I said, I'm super excited. This is going to be the first time that we've taught DECU Body 2. And I have a feeling it's going to become one of our most popular courses. But so it's going to be a 6-week course. And we're going to introduce some essential oils and, of course, some Arnes, some different things to amplify the frequencies of the body and really working with those meridians and just kind of those subtle energies that will help us become aware of what those choices are, right, Denise? It's like, so many times we walk through life and we're not even really identifying what those hidden subtle energies are that are there to create choice around. Do you want to add to that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, each week, we're designed to take us deeper into each of the processes, so what are your fears? What are your emotions? What are you thinking? And which are the organs are affected? And what I love about introducing the essential oils into this course, and we did it with the Hidden Reasons We Struggle to Lose Weight course, we had phenomenal shifts and changes in perspective. And at the core, we learned that it's not really what we think it is. It's something completely different. And so the essential oils are coated with scalar frequencies, and they hold the essential oil at a higher frequency. So it holds your body at that higher frequency. And so we have the students apply the oils twice a day, and the oils have an intelligence, a wisdom, and it knows what is stuck, where you're holding it in your body, and it just dislodges it and it releases it. And then the scalar frequencies, when you get out, you move all that trash out of the way, the scalar frequency just elevates you and it holds you there. And then the next week we add another oil, and then it'll clear, everything that we're focusing on that week at a really profound level, and it elevates you. And so by the time we get to the end of the 6 weeks, you're literally a new person.
Mm. And that just gave me chills because during that whole time, I love how we're kind of like bringing in some different elements of other courses that we've done to create this one experience. And so during these 6 weeks, we're also doing a manifestation process that's called the hourglass method, where we actually learn to manifest beyond the programming of our mind, where we can actually keep the frequency in the abstract for a long enough period of time where it can turn, it's kind of taking those particles of possibility and keeping them in that possibility for a long enough time that actually can move into the probability of what we're creating. So there's so many beautiful things that we're bringing in, and of course the DQ process of learning the step-by-step method of how to actually reprogram your cells. And it's not hard, and that's just it. It's like anybody can do this. Is all you have to have is the desire to step into the empowerment of your own healing, and really wanting to shift the reality of your life really is what we're talking about. Because when we change on a cellular level, that is reflected into our reality. And then our reality begins to shift and change as well. And that is truly how we create the new earth. Like whatever it is that your passion is, it's like that's what this is about. It's the new human, it's the new earth experience, it's the new way of healing, it's the new way of manifesting. Like whatever word you want, passion point you want to put there, this does. I mean, that's just I think that that's what I love about it is it's like we can all have our own kind of inspirational place that we want to step into. And all this does is it gives you the ability to actually be in the empowerment of that divine creation into that inspirational piece. Because when we infuse and tune in to the divine within us, and that we start to program our body within that frequency pattern, life really does become magical.
This really is quantum and multidimensional and empowering, because we are really steering our consciousness and holding a vibration. And what I find interesting when we're talking about the belief system and how it goes so deeply within us, and this illustrates the point of what you guys were saying. In this group hypnosis session, we were all asked to envision what we would be doing at this age, at another age, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, to the point where that would make some of us into the hundreds, 120. What are you doing? And the hypnosis was, what are you doing when you're 120, 140? And do you know, it brought forward the belief system in all of the participants that no one has ever considered what they would be doing at age 144.
Mm.
Yet there are masters who walk the earth. We know this from Yogananda, Autobiography of a Yogi, and some of the great ascended masters who are here on this earth 400, 600, 800 years old. And so you guys are really making this real by experimenting with it, but playing with it. And this is creating new earth, one cell at a time.
I love that.
Can you share anything about the DNA? I was looking to draw up a photo here. Patricia Diane Coda Robles shared the photo of a human cell, a real actual image of a human cell, and it was magnificent. I will try to insert this here. Tell us about DNA, because we're literally, what we know about DNA is we can activate our DNA.
I read a book, gosh, it was probably maybe 8 years ago, and it was the whole thing was channeled, and what they actually showed me what the DNA looks like from, um, you could say, from the ascended mind. I'm not really sure how to say it. It's like the way our DNA actually looks now, but we only see it at the level of consciousness that we're in. And so what they did is they showed me what it actually looks like when we reach a higher level of consciousness, and it's very, very multidimensional. And it's so much so that, what we would say going through the double helix actually brings you into almost like I want to say like a black hole, or it spirals into kind of that, well, all that is, and or you could say source, God particle. And so I guess I think, what am I saying here? I'm saying that what we think it is, it's so much more. And then I even know that what I was shown, that it's more than that. And I also, it's not a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing. And that's what I love about the work that we're doing, is that we're creating that bridge from matter to spirit, because our DNA is actually created to be in the spiritual experience. Because it's programmed to be that. And that's why we're able to activate it, because it's already there. It's just whether or not we have the conscious understanding and into it being the agreement of that. And that's what we're doing with this work.
Yes. And so for those beings who live long, even in the Bible, there's stories of Moses living to 600 years. They do get spiritual. It is a higher consciousness. And this is just becoming conscious. This is being conscious. Like when you wake up in the morning and you go on your hike, that is being conscious of everything. So as we become conscious, this is being responsible for our energy, and that goes to our thoughts, our feelings, and emotions. Absolutely beautiful. Well, just for fun, I would love to share this image.
Oh, please do.
This is a real image of a human cell.
Piece of work. I mean, it's beautiful. If you wouldn't have told me what this was, I would have thought it's abstract art.
Yeah. Or light language, even.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, it's light language.
I
I
love
mean, look
that.
at some of these. Look at this part. I
Yeah.
don't know what this is, but this is an actual image, a photograph of a human cell.
So what I see, what you just pointed out there, Lauren, is sacred geometry.
It's a dodecahedron, yes. Isn't that amazing? So it's just very interesting. And here's some spiral. So when we are programming our cells, look at what is in the cell, and it's waiting for our instruction. Amazing. All right.
I know you
So,
can sit there and look at it, right?
so why don't we just continue to look at this? And I wanted to give you any final comments for your course. All of this information for this DECU Body 2 is right here on this webpage. All the details are there. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Do you have something, Denise?
Well, as you said earlier, each of our courses, every time we teach it, it's evolving to the next level. And each class, it seems like the students are like comprehending the concept of what we're teaching at a faster level. And the results of each class is improving, I want to say exponentially, just in terms of what the students are going through and what they're learning and the results that they're getting. Not that we try and base our outcome on the results, because to do that would be to actually limit the possibility of what it looks like. Just like that beautiful picture, and you were saying it, Jules, with the way you were able to see the actual DNA and receiving the guidance of it's so much more than that, and it's even more than that. And we just can't comprehend what is possible with these minds until we actually start stepping into it. And so we're just really excited to teach this DECU Body too. We feel like it's an answer to a lot of prayers in terms of, you know, people that are suffering with these illnesses and diseases, and they're looking for something outside of conventional medicine. You know, not that we're saying to stop medication and all that. It's not about that, but it's another step that they can take toward healing. That's what we're here for. We're here to teach you and to support you and take you to your next.
That was so beautifully said. There's one thing that it kept coming through, and I don't think I've actually said it out loud, but there's so many times where we, you know, sign up for these courses or do these kind of more abstract, high level spiritual things, but then there's not this element of actually creating it within our own lives. And it's like, okay, when I go to work, I'm going to be something different than when I'm in the course, and that is where we're creating this bridge, is that we're actually teaching you how to do this like in your real life, because in your real life is where you actually got programmed to be what you're in this other space trying to unravel. And it's such a beautiful thing when we can start to bring those worlds and bring them together and really tune in and be that attunement in our lives. So I just did want to mention that because it's come to me a couple of times and I just thought that it was worth mentioning. But that was so beautifully said, Denise. Thank you, Lauren.
Beautiful ladies. Thank you so much for, again, bringing forward this modality. It's just the tip of the iceberg in this whole industry. We're going to call it quantum industry. And the results that people who do this work and do this focus, hold this vibration, will only go to make it stronger and bring it mainstream. And that's why to see both of you here and putting it out in the world in this way is truly remarkable. Denise, your story is remarkable. And so promising for so many, if not everyone. So I just want to commend both of you for this beautiful work and for showing us what is possible in this quantum realm. It truly is spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, this course is right here on this webpage, and we invite everyone to check it out. All right, ladies, I just want to give you a moment to say goodbye.
We just send everyone so much love and a great big hug. And I hope you feel that, because that's really the space that we try to create, is just a place of family where, you know, it's soul family. Like, we don't always get to show up and be in the home frequency that we are and feel supported in that space. So we welcome you to show up in your brilliance, and we will love you in that space.
Absolutely. And so many of our students, when they find us, they're like, I have finally found my soul family. And that's a sense of community that we are creating. We're creating a new earth platform. And we welcome all those souls that are ready to rejoin their soul family and heal and step into the new earth with us.
All right. And so for those who cannot join live, do not worry about that. You can still be a part with all of the recordings, a beautiful platform to study all of this work and bring it into your life. So we are creating new earth, one cell at a time. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.